where they're tuning in from. Let us know. South London, Peckham, we've got a lot of Londoners. That's great. Continue to tell us. Shropshire, love it. Welcome everyone. Really nice to see a few familiar names as well joining. Maggie, welcome. Sarah, welcome. Natalie, welcome everyone. We're just going to wait a few more minutes while everyone joins, and then I'll get kick-started and tell you what we've got in store for the next 2 hours. We've got a really exciting agenda for you all coming up, so welcome. Got people from Yorkshire, from London, all over. I think someone just said they're tuning in from the US. Welcome everyone. So we'll just give it a couple more minutes before we get started. I love seeing people saying hi to each other. It's really nice having the community of people that are joining. We've got quite a few people, I'd imagine, that have been tuning into our showcase debates that have been happening every couple of weeks since lockdown. All of the people that support us, that have supported us for a number of years, welcome. Welcome to the new people. Welcome to all of our students that will be tuning in to watch their classmates take part in this grand final. Welcome to some of our clients on the corporate side. Hello, everyone. You're very welcome. Okay, we're going to get started because, as I said, we have a jam-packed agenda for you this afternoon and a lot to get through. So for those of you that don't know, we are DebateMate and we are a social business, a social enterprise. We've been operating for 11 years now. And this event is celebrating our amazing students that have made it through to the DebateMate Cup final. So this is a special event where we're going to have an opportunity to hear from our students. For those of you that don't know, the core of what we do at DebateMate is set up and run after-school debate clubs all across the UK and abroad to create amazing young people that have key skills that we need in our lives. So communication, leadership, teamwork, critical and creative thinking. And you're going to see some of these fantastic students that really show such incredible confidence, resilience, empathy, all of those amazing skills that we strive for in our lives. So DebateMate's an after-school club program, and there's a number of competitions that happen throughout the year. And this is the DebateMate Cup. So this is the grand kind of final that the students are working towards through the academic year. So it's a real celebration to get to this point. We have 6,000 students that take part in our program every week. So that gives the context of the 8 that have made it here today for the grand final. So what was going to happen this afternoon is we have the grand final that's going to be taking place from 4:30. In a minute, I'm going to get the finalists up and we're going to work out who's on which side. Once we've done that, I'm then going to hand over to my co-chairs that are going to be doing the warm-up act before the grand final. We've got some fantastic people that are joining us for our showcase debate. And I won't give any more information because they're going to tell you about that. Following that, we'll then get the students back and we'll have our grand final and we will decide which team will be crowned the DebateMate Cup champions for the 2020 programme. So without further ado, can I please invite our finalist students to turn their cameras on so you can be introduced to everyone and we can do the draw for which team are going to be the proposition and which team are going to be the opposition. So if everyone could turn their cameras on, that would be great. Welcome everyone. Really, oh, they're all waving. Give everyone a wave. Really lovely to see you all. I'm very excited about this. We did a briefing earlier this week and I just got too carried away when I went on screen and saw all of them. So welcome everyone. This year, the DebateMate Cup's been a little bit different to how we've run it in previous years. As a result of everything that's happened with COVID-19, we unfortunately weren't able to do our DebateMate Cup competitions in person. We had to do them online, and all of the students across the country submitted video entries on a debate, either in agreement or disagreement. We then went through a very complicated judging process where we whittled down to a number of students, and then we got our final 8 after the judges deliberated. And these are the final 8. And I think you should be able to see them all pop up on your screen now. So these are the final 8. And we have 2 teams. So we have Evan, Debbie, Freddie, and Amani on one team. And on the other team, we have Sam, Millie, Maliha, and Leah. Give a wave again, everyone. Great. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I have 2 pieces of paper in my hand. One of them says proposition and one of them says opposition. Evan on one team and Millie on the other team are going to choose. I'm going to go to Evan first. You get the first pick and you're going to choose which hand you want. You can say right or left. I'll open that piece of paper, your team. So you, Debbie, Freddie, and Amani will be that team. And then the other team will get the opposite. So Evan, which hand would you like? My right or my left hand?
I'm going to have to go for left.
Okay, let's see. Drum roll for everyone at home. Okay, your team are the team in proposition. That's probably showing backwards to you. So Evan, Debbie, Freddie, and Amani, you're in proposition. And Millie, which hand would you like to choose? There's no choice. You're the team in opposition. So can we please, everyone tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from around the world, please, big round of applause for our finalists as they turn their cameras off and go into their virtual spaces to prepare for our grand final, which is happening at 4:30. Well done, everyone, and look forward to seeing you at 4:30. Okay, so now we get to the warm-up, our very, very special warm-up. So we've been delighted this year to partner with an amazing organization called Bite Back on our Debate Mate Cup. For those of you that don't know, Bite Back are a youth-led organization aimed at halving childhood obesity by 2030. It's truly inspirational, the work that they do, and I've met some of their youth ambassadors who are fantastic, and you're going to hear from some of them in this showcase debate. So we've partnered on this warm-up showcase debate for you. So can I please invite our co-chairs to turn their cameras on? So you'll see them in a minute. We have James Toop, who is CEO of Bite Back. James and I both did Teach First together. Really excited to be partnering. And then we have Sean, who is our head of education, group head of education. She's been involved with Debate Mate as long as I have, which is since the beginning. And really looking forward to seeing the showcase debate. I'm going to hand over to them to introduce how it's all going to work.
Thank you so much, Jess. Hi everyone, like Jess said, my name is Sharon and I'm joined by my wonderful co-chair, James, the CEO of Bite Back. Personally, I am so thrilled to be chairing this debate in partnership with Bite Back. And we have some incredible debaters lined up for you and some incredible speakers. So I'm now going to invite our debaters to turn on their cameras and I'll go through how everything will work and then I'll hand over to our co-chair, James, to introduce the debate. Whilst they're all turning on their cameras, if we could all give them a big virtual round of applause. It's currently just me, but hopefully you're all cheering them on and stomping your feet and cheering them on. So welcome, show debaters. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So in terms of how the debate's going to work, we have 2 sides. We have the proposition, who are going to make speeches in favour of the topic, which we'll announce in a bit. In proposition, we have Asma, Jenny, and Dev, and then we have the opposition team. So the opposition will be disagreeing with the topic. And in the opposition, we have John, Jane, and Ella. They'll each have roughly 3 minutes to make their speeches. While they're making their speeches, the team from the other side can interrupt their speeches with what we call a point of information. When this happens, if you're offering a point of information, you will turn yourself off mute, offer your point of information. If you are rejected, sadly, you'll have to put yourself back on mute and wait for them to accept another one. Audience, that is everyone else who I can't see, but hopefully you can see me and you can see all of the speakers. You are not passive at all. You are active. We want you to be active right from the start using the Q&A function, telling us what you think about the debate, if you agree, if you disagree, interact with one another. And you also have the opportunity to ask the speakers questions. So you can do that by using the Q&A function, which should be at the bottom of your screen, to ask them a question. And I'll be reading some of these questions out in the floor debate after the second speaker on the opposition has spoken. Now, for those of you who are familiar with DebateMate, you know that we always have prizes for everything because everyone's a winner. And this debate will be exactly the same. So we will be offering a prize for the best floor contribution, the best floor question. And in typical DebateMate fashion, that will be a £20 Nando's voucher. And I have spoken with the CEO of Nando's and the CEO of Bite Back, and they have told us that that will be restricted to the healthy options at Nando's only. But trust me, it's really, really good. So there's all to play for. Now, the last thing before I welcome our co-chair and ask him to welcome the speakers is just to really quickly announce the motion. And I believe there should be a poll that pops up with that, just so you guys can tell me how you feel about it initially. But the topic for today, this house believes that all students should receive free school meals. All students should receive free school meals. There should be a poll that pops up that asks you if you agree or if you disagree with that. If not, it's okay. In the meantime, I'll hand over to our co-chair, James, to start the debate.
Great, thanks, Sean. And yeah, we are equally really excited to be here and participating and partnering with DebateMate on this. We've done a few debates with them, and the quality of what we've seen from all of the young people, I'm sure a number of you are joining, has been phenomenally high. And so we're really excited about this debate, and a topic that I think is really, really topical and important at the moment. So the motion is, should all students receive free school meals? And we've got an amazing array of speakers. I've had the pleasure of reading their bios to go through and see just some of their experiences and what they're going to bring to this debate. So without further ado, we're going to move into the first speaker. The first speaker in proposition is Asma Khan. Asma Khan is a chef, restaurateur and cookbook author. She founded Darjeeling Express restaurant in London. She recently took part in the 6th season of the documentary series Chef's Table. And in June, and I love this one, 2019, Business Insider named her #1 on their 100 coolest people in food and drink. So welcome, Asma Khan.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I've actually been involved with schools for a long time. I was a governor in a primary school for 10 years. I'm a mom, I'm a chef. And, you know, I do know what, you know, the difference that school meals make, because I went to school in India, as you can probably make out from my accent, where we didn't have school meals and everybody ate their own food, and it was complicated. And I just loved it the first time I saw my little boy going off for his school meal. This sense that, you know, he felt like an outsider, he was very awkward, an only child. But when he sat down with others, he was really excited. So the thing is that, you know, it's not just about food. It is about, you know, being part of a community. And, you know, we always hear this thing about baking, you know, you're breaking bread with people. It's about peace. It sounds very adult and serious. It's not. When you're very young and you sit on the same table and have the same food as everybody else, there is, again, food is a great leveler in that point. And this is why I'm speaking in my proposition is that this is the best thing, because what it does is that it allows every child to feel the same as others. And this is really, really important, because often, you know, when I've seen this in the school, because I would often go in at meal times, that the child who got a packed lunch, it is unfortunate, and it is a reflection of possibly prejudices of parents. The children would often laugh at what they ate and call, you know, smelly curry and all of this. And that is so unacceptable. And, you know, while you're dealing with the importance of actually making sure that children respect and honor each other, by putting them around the same table, giving them the same food, you remove that temptation of that child to bully someone who's sitting on the side and eating a packed lunch. So it's more than just, you know, about nutrition. And, you know, I know there are others on this panel who will talk about this. And, you know, as a chef, I understand that it's really important. It is, you know, a hot meal for many people. I was a governor in a school in a very affluent area, but there were children there who came in without having had a warm meal for breakfast and sometimes not for dinner. And this is, apart from deprivation, there is another reason why this happens. And this is because when your parents, you know, are working morning shifts or are very, very stressed out or come in late at night, trying to get you dressed for school, to drop you to school, get your siblings ready, you know, look after the baby and feed you, sometimes becomes very, very complicated. And this is a huge, so this is a huge issue. So food, I think it's really important that we make sure that every child gets a hot meal, a school dinner, because this allows all those differences that are there in their home at that table in school, they all are the same. And that is why it's so important that every child should be entitled to a school meal.
Fantastic. Thank you, Asma. Virtual round of applause for Asma. And the poll is in as well. So sharing the results, 66% of you think yes, free school meals should be available to all students. 27% think no, and 8% are not sure. So let's see what our second speaker, the first speaker in opposition, can do to change your minds. It's Jane Carhill. Jane is a former DebateMate mentor. She's now a Teach First ambassador and the head of English at Eltham Hill School in Greenwich. She regularly contributes to a number of education publications on a range of topics, publications like Schools Week, and most recently, she's been published on the impact of COVID-19 for the Higher Education Policy Institute. So over to you, Jane, as our first speaker in opposition.
Hi, and thanks for having me. I have to start off before I do my rebuttal with a little bit of a shout out to Mr. Ghafoor and Miss Yasmin from Central Foundation School, because I used to teach there. Great to see that you guys have made it into the final today. Really going to be rooting for you guys in that debate. To start off though, I do want to just engage with some of the things that Asma Khan has said. And you know, the quality of the speakers today on the proposition is really a testament to the fact that this comes from a really good place, this idea. But coming from a good place doesn't necessarily make this a good policy in schools. Remember that all children at the moment can get a hot meal in school. It's just a question of who is paying for it. And in my school, where we do have a number of students who get free school meals and a number of students who don't, actually they all eat the same meal and they all eat it together. It's just a question of whether or not their parents pay for that meal or whether or not the government does. And thanks to technology like Parent Pay, where payments are made online and are kind of fingertip technology for payments, it's actually not always obvious which students are receiving a meal that is being paid for by their parents and which ones aren't. So I think in terms of the stigma, I think there are real ways that we tackle some of the issues that Asma Khan has mentioned. But my main point today is that I want you to imagine that you're a head teacher planning for September. Sadly, you've probably made very few savings over the last few months because all of your staff have been working full-time. You've given away your laptops, calculators, textbooks, curriculum texts, pens and revision guides to get students working at home. You've lost all of your income from sports teams booking your pitches and the community, you know, using your space at weekends. You've had to also spend in whole new areas with extra cleaning rotas, hand sanitizer, gloves, screens now at reception, and new signs all around the building. You've had hundreds of students who are now behind on their learning, who need tutoring. You're going to need to hire new adults to help stagger the start and the end of your school day, extending your hours beyond what they had ever been. And you probably have many children, sadly, who have faced bereavement, who are going to need extra time with your educational psychologist and your school counsellor. And then I want you to imagine the government comes along and says, we're going to help you out. We're going to pay for all of the meals for children whose parents can probably already pay for them. Because remember, these are the children who aren't already receiving them for free. I think as a head teacher, if that's what the government said to you, you really would be bitterly disappointed. This is, at the end of the day, a debate about limited resources. And this is a debate that's happening in the real world, with schools now running huge budget deficits across the country. If you don't want to lose staff when schools have to be restructured, if you don't want to lose the learning, which has been wiped out already, and has already wiped out the gains that we made, in fact, over half a decade in a matter of months, we need to get real about the policies that are going to make a difference right now in our schools. The costs facing schools right now are so high, the test of any new education policy is simple. Does it help us to recover from the effects of COVID-19 or does it not? And not only does this policy of paying for every child's free school meals not do that, it actually exacerbates some of the problems. But this is also a debate about who should be making spending decisions in schools. Is it the government who should decide what policy is the best, and this policy of paying for everyone's meals is the best way to spend money? Or is it maybe the head teachers who know their communities and can help them best recover from this crisis? Remember, the decision to pay for school meals during term time doesn't extend the Rashford plan on free school meals. So whilst we're going to be paying for all children to eat in term time, our least advantaged pupils will continue to go hungry in the holidays. Also, it's going to pay for everyone to have lunch, which is great, when our least advantaged pupils still don't get breakfasts. So the proposition facing us today feels like quite a grand intervention designed by people maybe outside of the education system, when the best interventions are almost always designed from within it. The cynical view would actually say that this is in a way going to help people like Johnson, Sunak and Gove recover their voters, because actually this is a huge investment in those schools that actually maybe don't really need those investments. And there's 3 reasons for that. Paying for all children to have free school meals represents a cash injection to schools on a per pupil basis. And the criteria for that is going to be whether or not a child already gets free school meals. Those children are not equally distributed across the school system. So schools in Sunderland, Stoke, Tower Hamlets, Newham, Lewisham and Birmingham already get quite a lot of money to help pay for those kids to get those meals. But the schools in the home counties, who have very low levels of students who are already receiving free school meals, are now going to receive from the government a huge cash injection into their budget year on year. So this policy doesn't really help us to actually help those who have been most affected by the crisis. If at the start of this debate, the proposition said to you, we have an idea, it isn't going to address any of the current problems around safety, technology, and bereavement that schools are facing. And it's going to take decision-making away from schools and place it in the hands of central government. And then it's going to hand
quick
sums
time
of money.
check, Jane.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so then it's handing huge sums of money to parents that don't need it. And I would say that for those reasons, I'm very, very proud to oppose. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Jane. So great to see some questions coming in on the Q&A. So please do keep those coming in. Lots of thought-provoking stuff from our first 2 speakers. So we're going to flip back now to the proposition and our 3rd speaker, which is our 2nd speaker in proposition, which is Jenny Rosborough. Jenny is the head of nutrition at Jamie Oliver Group and registered with the Association for Nutrition. She works across Jamie Oliver Group to implement nutrition standards, is passionate about improving the food environment through policy change. She's a member of the Bite Back Expert Advisory Board, and she was also previously a campaign manager at Action for Sugar. She regularly appears in the media on this issue, talking about nutrition, So I will hand over now and welcome to our second speaker in proposition is Jenny Rosborough.
Thank you. So Jane makes really interesting points about COVID putting children behind academically. And I think just like teachers know how policies will work within school environments, and health professionals know and nutritionists know the impact of food beyond what is obvious. And we definitely can touch on the role of food, which goes beyond just preventing hunger and how it is linked to academic achievement as well. So I don't really think there should be a choice between whether kids get to access nutritious foods during schools or go hungry in the holidays. We need something that covers it all. So I'm advocating for universal free school meals because nutrition is a basic and fundamental requirement for growth and development. And so an argument of saving government money is really a short-sighted one. When it comes to poor diet, there are long-term consequences that we are experiencing right now. So diet-related diseases, which is costing our NHS and our government billions and billions of pounds. So on a very practical, universal free school meals means economies of scale. So it reduces the cost of each meal and less time would be spent on processing applications, and it's overall a more efficient system. Plus, the opportunity here to be school featuring jobs. So this is an investment that will last far beyond the school day. In the short term, we know there's a link between food and attainment, and that comes in terms of concentration and behaviour. But healthy eating behaviours are really established during childhood, and that's why this age group is key. So even though we see a lot of the diseases into adulthood, a lot of this starts in childhood. So we eat what we like and we like what we know, and food exposure and peer role modelling are two key factors in helping us to establish these healthy behaviours that last throughout life. And school lunches provide a variety of foods that many children would not be exposed to at home. So although it might seem simple that a parent who can afford a school pack lunch might bring that school lunch in, it doesn't necessarily mean that what they're eating there is particularly nutritious. So parents are not nutritionists, and we know that in order to improve health at population level, we need a level of intervention that is always required. And so school lunches are based on school food standards, whereas less than 2% of lunch boxes meet the standards. And this is across all hungry. When you have that choice of school packed lunches as well, parents might initially think that that's a more approach for their child because they can feed them exactly what they know and exactly what they like. But it means that what they learn to like and their preferences of healthier foods they're never exposed to and never realise because they don't necessarily have access to these at home. So nutrition is fundamental to growth and development, like I said, but this is more than about just food. This is about providing a safe environment where children experience equality. Children shouldn't have to sit at different tables to their friends because some can afford to bring in lunches and others can't. And a system that
on that point.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know many schools that require people to sit at different tables just because their food is being paid for in a different way. Surely we can achieve equality without necessarily only spending money in this way.
So we know that obviously children who bring in food, they'll be eating something different to what when children are having their school food meals, which meet the school food standards. Now we know that stigma is also a very, very real issue. And this is an opportunity to bring some middle ground where in lots of cases throughout life, they would live a very different life. And there's a big point around stigma here and attracting and kind of accessing certain foods. But I know that we're going to have other speakers talk more on that aspect. But ultimately, to that point, a system that provides free school meals to children who rely on this system in order to eat, but don't access them because of all the barriers that are in play is not fit for purpose. So we know that take up of lower income children was higher when receiving universal free school meals and being part of that programme. So now is not the time to be taking away policies or deciding whether we should put resources into counselling or feeding children. So we definitely don't want to take away policies which exist to feed children well. It's a very basic human right. And if anything, we should talk about extending it. All children deserve access to nutritious food during the school food day, regardless of home conditions. And crucially, providing these meals universally improves access to children who need them most.
Great, thank you very much, Jenny. Keep those. Thanks, Jenny. Keep those questions coming in because after our next speaker, we're going to have the floor debate. So delighted to welcome our fourth speaker, it's John Allen. John is the chairman of Tesco, Barrett Developments, and president of the CPI, and he's also the chairman of co-founder of J&A Mentoring Partners Limited. And John is going to be our second speaker in opposition. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you very much. And it's a real pleasure to engage in this debate. I mean, it's a good motion because there are arguments on both sides, but I've listened very carefully to what the proposition had to say, and I've not heard a single argument from them in favour of providing free school meals to everyone. I think we've had some very eloquent descriptions of why school meals are a good thing, and I'd like to suggest an alternative approach which would give us the advantage of virtually universal school meals, but without incurring the costs that would be associated with it. Now, what would those costs be? About 25% of school children currently qualify for school meals. Extending the free school meals to even years 3 to 6 in primary schools would add an additional £800 million a year to the bill. And extending it to all secondary school pupils would add an extra billion. So we're talking in round figures, an extra £1.8 billion. And surely it would be better to use some or all of that money to increase support for the families that are most disadvantaged and the children that are most disadvantaged. Children attend school for about 40 weeks, 200 days a year. That's just over half a year. I would much rather the money was spent on providing the most disadvantaged children with free meals for 365 days a year if necessary, because, you know, their nutritional needs don't disappear on Saturdays or Sundays or in the school holidays. So I think that we could, if we spent half the money that the proposition claim would lead to, about £900 million, we could provide school meals all year round, or the equivalent of school meals all year round. Now, we heard some very strong arguments why kids sitting down together to eat has social benefits and it has nutritional benefits. And I don't think anyone on this side of the argument would disagree with those things. But there's a much more cost-effective way, which is to make school meals compulsory for children. Parents can continue to pay for them. Now, I'm not a teacher as some of the other people are on this, but I have been a provider of school meals in a previous life to several local authorities, Kent, Berkshire, Gloucester, et al. And frankly, some of the schools I went into, which were most impressive, put an awful lot of pressure on parents to ensure that their children took school meals because they recognize the advantages which the speakers on the other side have laid out. So I think we should actually, instead of the proposition, spending £1.8 billion for no real difference, we should spend half that money on providing all year round school meals, and the other half, as my co-speaker said, could be fed back into the system, because we do know we're going to have a huge problem coming out of the COVID lockdown period. Children have lost an awful lot of education, and that will most severely impact on the most disadvantaged. So the most disadvantaged kids will bear the biggest scars from the loss of education that's taken place over the last few months. And surely spending money to help them to eradicate the scars, which will very likely impact on their life chances, their life opportunities. So I see this as a moment of opportunity where, for once, the government is probably going to be willing to spend money because it recognizes this problem. Let's spend that money wisely. Let's not spend it on providing free school lunches for billionaires' kids, billionaires' kids, and so on. What on earth is the point of that? Let's spend it on giving year-round support to the kids that most need it and those who will have suffered most from the lockdown. And that's why I enthusiastically oppose this motion and hope that the audience will vote with us on that. Thank you.
Big round of applause for John, and thank you to all of the speakers so far for speaking in the debate. We're now going to come on to the floor debate. Now, I offered everyone a £20 Nando's voucher for the best speaker from the floor. Apparently it was only meant to be 10, but that's how generous I'm feeling. So I want to see you guys asking lots of questions in the chat. If you're joining us from YouTube, hello. I can see that the YouTube chat has been popping off. So ask us some questions on there and we'll do our best to read some of those questions aloud. The other thing you can do, if you're feeling very, very brave, is you can raise your hand if you want to ask a question live. So if you want to ask a question live, raise your hand and I will allow you to talk, to ask that question live. In the meantime, I'm going to read out some of the questions that are being asked from our wonderful floor. Summary speakers, please listen very carefully to those speeches, to those questions. It is your responsibility in summary to answer one or two of those questions. So we'll start with Kehinde. Kehinde says, this is to Asma. Wouldn't it be economically better for the government of parents, if they had to pay for the meals or the packed lunch? I think they're asking a question. Which one's better, paying for meals or paying for packed lunches? Greta asks, I asked the panel for views on the reported 88 million going missing from the school meals budget on an annual basis. So what's the lack of the role here over the money for those students in receipt of free school meals? I think the money rolls over a lot. Sometimes it's not necessarily always spent. So what do you say to that? Ali says, question for the opposition. School meals do cost roughly around £2.5, £2.50, don't know why I read that funnily, £2.50 per student, which means it's not always affordable for non-free school meal parents who might have 2 to 4 kids to pay that cost, even though they have the money to do that. How can we ensure consistency and avoid students from getting bullied for whatever they bring in their lunchbox? I think those are 2 questions there. Thank you, Ali. I was definitely one of those students that always had the jollof rice that smelled a bit funny to all the other students in my lunchbox. So I'd love to see a response to that question. Connie asks, what about the parents who don't have enough money to make packed lunches or who don't have time? What should we do then? Joe asks, what about the families who would qualify for free school meals but don't know about the opportunity or don't ask for help? Wouldn't this proposition help them? And I know that's a big issue in schools with parents not necessarily putting themselves down for the free school meals. How do we feed those children? Iman says, how useful is the criteria for receiving free school meals after COVID as a result of the unprecedented unemployment? Could a universal provision reach pupils that traditionally suffer most in an invisible poverty in not meeting the current criteria for provision? Very good point there. Greta says, why stop at universal infant free school meals, which I think is what we currently have in a number of boroughs? What is the difference in terms of cognitive development and the impact of nutrition on cognition between year 2 and year 3? If taking an approach on the impact of educational attainment, then surely the argument would be for a free school meal service until the brain reaches maturity. That was a very, very good question, very hard for me to read, but very good. We've got another question from Tanisha, who says, both for the proposition and opposition, would it not be possible to have a basic standard of free school meals for everyone and any additional food that everyone wants to be acquired can be paid for? Also for the opposition, if only 25% of pupils qualify for free school meals, then providing free school meals for everyone does not mean that all students will eat the meals necessarily. Good point. This means that the money that was mentioned would not actually go to waste. Also, the money being used for free school meals does not mean that their education has to suffer. It would be wrong to say that free school meals would equate to lower education. Really good point there. I'm going to come over to Vaishashana. If you want to talk, I'm going to allow you to talk. If you want to say something live, you need to unmute yourself when you're ready.
In secondary school, the money is £2.30, but then when you get dessert, they give you extra money. But why can't we have free school meal like the primary schools?
Brilliant, thank you so much for that. That was a really good contribution. Everyone give them a round of applause, and thank you for being so brave to say your point out loud. If you could also message me and tell me what school you're from so we can give your school a big shout out for contributing. Okay, we've got 1 point from our YouTube followers. Hello, YouTube. This is from Phoebe to the opposition. By making school meals compulsory, it will mean that students who have packed lunches because they don't like school food, like Phoebe, would then choose not to eat and become hungry. I think that's what happens if you don't like the choices that you are being given. And our speaker who spoke out loud by Shashan was from Kingsford Community School in Beckton. Big shout out to Kingsford Community School. Big shout out there. All right, guys, we are going to end the floor debate now. Thank you all so much. We'll be announcing the winner of the floor debate after the debate has taken place. So I'm going to hand back over to James now to welcome our summary speaker to summarise the case for the proposition. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sean, and some fantastic questions there. Well done, everyone. So handing over to our summary speaker for the proposition, Dev Sharma. Dev is a youth board member at Bite Back 2030. So I know him well. This year he received the prestigious Diana Award for his work on free school meals campaigning, and he also represents Leicestershire as a member of the Youth Parliament, and in 2019 was awarded Young Person of the Year award. So welcome, Dev, over to you.
Hi, thank you, James, for the introduction, and welcome everyone. Hi, everyone. Some amazing points from all the speakers from the opposition and from our team. But I'm here to make you guys believe that we are the right people to vote for. So I'm going to start off and talk about food. Food has such a central part to play in our lives. We associate with our best memories. We use it to bring people together. It shapes our experiences and creates an environment where hostility is non-existent and everyone can coexist. It's a quality so precious to the world that we live in today, but it's increasingly being threatened by the reality that England is one of the most unhealthiest countries in Western Europe. Now I'll get into why England being unhealthy matters later. As children over the last 4 generations have spitefully been blessed with the destiny of a shorter lifespan than our parents. Us youth are going to live 10 years younger than our parents just because of the landscape of food that's been built around us. Now, how do we change that? Shouldn't we allow every young person with the option to be healthy, a right to food as they call it? Shouldn't we allow a level playing field to allow all young people, regardless of their economic background, regardless of where they come from, to be healthy? Because as Jenny said, nutrition is a fundamental requirement. It is a human right. Let me talk about what I was talking about being unhealthy and how England's one of the most unhealthiest countries in Western Europe. Our food environment is incredibly skewed and flooded to promote foods that are high in fat, sugar, salt. It makes it so difficult for individuals to choose nutrients-dense food. So when we leave the option of parents to choose, when we give the option to parents to make a packed lunch for their child, it's so incredibly difficult to provide a healthy meal. As Jenny also said, most packed lunches don't even meet the standards that free school meal or just normal school meals reach. So why don't we end that? Why don't we stop allowing big food companies to manipulate our food choices? Why don't we stop allowing big food companies to choose what they want to put in our packed lunch and advertise unhealthy food towards us and give a level playing field? Now, I'll give you an example, and I think a lot of you might recall being given milk back in primary school, and that bottle of milk. I was given milk in primary school, and it was that bottle of milk, and I could sit next to my wealthier peer, who in fact, my more wealthier peer is more likely, and is in terms of like percentage, more likely to climb any type of ladder given to him, a career ladder, more likely to be wealthy in the future, to get a good job, good paying job, have a good family. But that bottle of milk allowed me to sit next to my peer, who's more wealthy, and it leveled out the playing field. It lets coexist. The inequality gap that is going to be present after COVID-19, after the pandemic, is going to be astronomical. The working class will be here and the middle class will be here. And that keeps on continuing every growing day. So how do we mitigate that gap and allow any young person, whether they're working class or whether they're middle class, to just have a level playing field? And I've seen a lot of discussion being about why don't we just extend free school meals to free meals to those most disadvantaged. So there's around 4 million people living in poverty. Only a fraction of that receive free school meals. So why don't we give all 4 million children free school meals? Now, let me tell you, and Asma mentioned this and Jenny mentioned this, about the stigma attached to free school meals. If I was in primary school and a disadvantaged kid like myself was being given a bottle of milk and my more wealthy peer on the side wasn't, that's literally making a whole, it's introducing a whole, it's introducing stigma back again. It takes away that whole shared common experience of food where we can coexist together and we can grow up and there's no inequality gap. I think a lot of you guys know how, sorry, I'm referring to John's point at the moment, and how John said it's 1.8 billion pounds every year. And so think about it, for any family, I'm not just talking about a disadvantaged family, I'm talking about any type of family, let your child go to school and have a meal, to have a school meal for all year costs somewhere around 400 and something pounds a year. So for my family, where there's 2 children, that's 800 pounds a year. Recently, there was speculation that someone like Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, would give vouchers to every single family, to allow every single family a £500 voucher to spend on retail, to spend on goods, to boost the economy and put spending back into the economy. Now, I bet a lot of you have heard the saying, health is wealth.
Deb, sorry to interrupt, quick time check.
Oh, sorry, quick, I'm ending, sorry. I bet a lot of you guys have heard the saying, health is wealth. So that £800, so most families in the UK with 2 children or even more, that £800 which could be saved, which could go towards lessening the burden of my parents having to pay bills, or could allow my parents to have more employability options because they're not having to pay more bills. Sorry, I'm just going to end it there. Instead of giving £500 vouchers, taking off that burden of nearly £400, £800, £1,200, not only increases the wealth, not only increases the health of young people, but it also lets us prosper and become the innovative generation that we ought to be. Because investing in children's health is one of the most highest investments any country can ever make. Because if you want young people to grow up to be that innovative generation that everyone sees us to be, feed us right, give us the right to food.
Thank you very much, Dev. So that was our last speaker in proposition. Delighted now to welcome our summary speaker in opposition, Ella Cox. Ella Cox is currently studying at Yale University, studying English literature and political science. Before that, she studied at Bridge Academy, Hackney, and has been involved with DebateMate since the age of 12. She had an amazing run of success, including multiple wins in this cup, the DebateMate Cup and the Urban Debate League, as well as being first reserve on the England Wales schools team. And since leaving school, she's volunteered for DebateMate as a mentor in a number of countries, including South Korea, Rwanda, and she helps high school students from disadvantaged areas through the US college application system in her spare time. So over to you, Ella, the summary speaker for the opposition.
Thank you. So as summary speaker, I think that this debate can be summarized with 2 main questions. Firstly, does giving every child a free school meal better ensure equality? And secondly, does giving every child a free school meal promote healthy eating? On team opposition, we say the answer to these questions is no. So if we look at the question of equality, we think that there is a very interesting clash in this debate, because we agree with Asma that every child deserves a hot meal once a day. However, we think that government resources can be allocated better to ensure that we're able to help the poorest, most disadvantaged students in more ways than just giving them free school meals and still giving their wealthy counterparts also free school meals. So just as we don't give everyone access to legal aid or social housing, and yet we still promote the principles of justice and the right to shelter, we think the same logic applies here. Ultimately, as John said, that £1.8 billion a year can be refunneled to help solely disadvantaged students, to help those who most need it, instead of people whose parents are already paying for free school meals. Like Jane said, imagine if you're a head teacher and you can give the poorest students in your school not just access to lunch, but also access to breakfast. Imagine how much more energized, how better they'll be able to focus in the morning classes when they're able to have breakfast as well as lunch. When you have this motion where you give everyone free school meals, the money to ensure that practices like that are carried out in schools is not there for head teachers to ensure that these students are given the best opportunities and to level the playing field. Asma pointed out that the problem under the status quo is that there's a big stigma around people bringing packed lunches, and there's actually a lot of prejudice and bullying that happens when students bring in food of their own culture as a packed lunch. But we say just because someone is getting bullied for bringing in a curry or jollof rice does not mean that we shouldn't allow them to do that. We think that we should encourage schools to celebrate diversity, to make sure all children are sitting at the same table and being able to share part of their culture, part of their food, part of their identity. And we think the onus is on schools to make sure they create an inclusive environment where students feel happy to do that. And so we don't think this is a problem. Like Jane mentioned, we can also ensure that there are anonymous ways to pay for free school meals so no one knows whose parents there are. But ultimately, there are stigmas with being a disadvantaged student, with coming from a poor family, and those don't go away because you still have inequalities with things like uniform, whether your trousers are too short and things like that. So we think what needs to happen is a cultural shift against bullying poorer students, and that comes from the school, not from the free school meal policy. And so in terms of healthier eating now, we actually don't think that this motion provides healthier eating. We heard from Jenny that what this motion does is it exposes students to healthy food, and then their parents will be able to adopt these practices into meals at home as well. But we think this is not true for a number of reasons. Firstly, we think that students are unlikely to go home to their parents having had like a mass-produced school meal of like probably some vegetable stew that they didn't like very much and say, please, can you replicate this at home? We think that in order to encourage healthier eating at home, this needs to be done in ways where the government is campaigning for healthy meals, where the government is subsidizing like healthier food so people can afford it. These are the sorts of things that provide a healthy eating culture. That said, also, like students can still, maybe they just won't eat the food. They might just go to the chicken and chip shop after school, wait it out, and then they're still eating a lot of unhealthy food. So you don't promote healthy lifestyles because they can still get that unhealthy food outside of school. We heard from the floor that the problem is that, because John said that we'll give free, we could just make everyone have free school meals. And someone said, but not everyone can afford free school meals. What if you have a lot of children? Firstly, we want to point out that we're happy to extend the criteria for free school meals. We personally think it's incredibly limiting right now, and poorer families who do not currently qualify but are still low income should definitely have that financial support. And secondly, even if you don't agree that everyone should be forced, like Phoebe said, some kids need packed lunches because they won't eat school dinners. We still think that this is one of the options we can take. Ultimately, on our side, we just want to make sure that we're not giving free school meals to every child, because the children of millionaires definitely don't need that. We can use that money to do so many things that are much better for society, as we have shown today. So ultimately, if you want to promote a society that champions equality, that helps those most in need, we beg you to vote for side opposition. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well done, Ella. Thank you so much. Let's give another big round of applause for all of our speakers virtually, wherever you are. I think we can all agree that that was a fantastic debate, really interesting and really well-informed debate. Well done, audience. For those of you who are watching, I've been loving the chat and everyone interacting, and thank you for those of you who have continued to ask questions in the Q&A. So, we don't have a judging panel for this debate. Audience, you are our judging panel. So I'm going to launch another poll, and I'm going to ask you all to tell me, having heard the 6 speakers in the debate, having taken part in the floor debate, what do you think? Do you still think that students should receive free school meals, or do you not, or are you unsure? Whilst the poll is happening, I'm going to hand over to James to say a few words about Bite Back. Just before he does, I've got one more prize to announce, and that's the Best Floor Speaker prize. So a couple of shout outs, quick shout out to Greta, who has been doing some fantastic Q&As, some questions on the floor. Big shout out to Phoebe from our YouTube family. She's been asking amazing questions. But the winner for today's floor debate goes to Vashashan. Vashashan, you were fantastic. Not only did you speak live and say your point out loud, you have been commenting non-stop in the Q&A, and you've been a fantastic audience member. So get in touch with DebateMate, email info, that's info @debatemate.com, and we will put your Nando's voucher in the post. That's it from me now. I'm going to hand over to Joe to announce the poll and to say a few words about Bite Back.
Hi, Sean. Thanks, Sean. And yeah, congratulations, Vasha. And yeah, spend that voucher wisely and healthily. I was speaking to Nando's a couple of weeks ago, and they're definitely looking at this. I think extra chilies if you buy healthy. So yeah, Bite Back has we started last October. We're a youth-led organisation that is trying to find amazing young people, like many of our debaters that we'll see in the next debate, and give them a platform through which they can campaign for a healthier food system, but also work with the food industry, with schools, with the key decision makers in government to advocate for that healthier system and work together on it. So one of our young people worked alongside Dev Sharma, so Christina Adane, who's also a debate mater as well, led a campaign just before Easter and then May half term, which culminated in a petition that had 290,000 people sign it to get the free school meal U-turn to happen, and supported obviously in a small part by that footballer Marcus Rashford. So that's one thing that's happened. We work across trying to change things in schools, high streets and screens. We do a lot of work with the food industry as well. So that point about, there's a lot that can be done in school, but there's a big responsibility outside as well. So there's still time if you want to apply to join our next cohort of youth leaders. Applications close on July the 19th. Head to our website, which is biteback2030.com, and take a look and do apply. But it's been great working with DebateMate. This is exactly the type of conversation we want to foster with young people debating. So it's been a great partnership for Bite Back, and we're really delighted with it. So to reveal the results, so when we started, I'd say 2/3 of people were for free school meals for all pupils. And at the end of the debate, that position had reversed. So 60% of people think that free school meals should not be available to all pupils. So I think that means that the opposition won the debate. So congratulations, opposition. Some really strong arguments that came across from everybody. So a big round of applause for the opposition, and also thank you to the proposition for all of your points as well.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you to all of our fantastic speakers. And that ends the first half of the DebateMate extravaganza today. I'm going to welcome Jess back to talk us through the next half of the Showcase Debate event final today. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks so much, Sean, and thanks so much, James. Really appreciate you coming to co-chair with Sean. I think you might put me out of a job. You were so good. That was really enjoyable debate, and I hope you all enjoyed it. So I'm back, everyone, and I am here to introduce the next part of our DebateMate Cup 2020. And that involves the amazing students that we just had up on screen to do the draw for the proposition and opposition. So they're all waiting in the wings. Since we did that draw, they went off to their own little virtual space. And whilst they were there, they were preparing their arguments for each side. So just to give you a little bit of context, they've submitted their video applications. We decided which ones were the top 8, and then we put them into teams. Usually how the DebateMate Cup works is we have schools that enter, and then you get 2 schools that make it through to the grand final. What's really exciting about this year is it's not schools, it's individuals. So the students that are debating together are from a number of schools, so in mixed teams, which is just really, really lovely. So I'll introduce and tell you where they're from when we do the debate, but I thought it was just worth saying that they have met kind of for the first time, and even though they knew the topic that was up for debate, they didn't know which side they were on. So they didn't know the side they were on, and they had to prepare both sides in anticipation. So they just found out at the beginning at 3:30, so they've been preparing ever since. So I'm not going to repeat the rules in that much detail, because I think majority of you will have been here for the first half. These guys will be speaking for 3 minutes. There's points of information in the same way that you saw, but there's no points of information in the summary speeches. So you won't see any points of information in the last speeches. We won't be doing any polls in this debate because we have a judging panel, a very, very experienced judging panel, including Ella, who you just saw speak in the last debate. So they will be making the decision today, and the winners will get the trophy, as we always do at DebateMate. So 3-minute speeches, no points of information in the summary, and you guys will be taking part in the floor questions. So you'll have an opportunity to put your questions in the Q&A as you did with the previous debate, and we'll be picking a winner. So Sean said £20 for the last one, so I'm going to have to stick to that, and there'll be £20 for this one up for grabs as well. So I hope you enjoy the debate. Can I please invite the speakers to all turn their cameras on when they're ready? That would be fantastic. If everyone can just turn their cameras on. Welcome everyone, give a big wave when you come on. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just counting all of the boxes that are coming on. It's really exciting when we have loads of people on screen, because sometimes you have to scroll across. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think a few of the others are making their way over. It's definitely a complicated process moving around different Zooms and different virtual spaces. So well done to our students, and I'm just waiting for the cue from the team to let me know that we're ready to start. So you guys, I can see some people already standing up, ready for this debate. So you guys, if you want to have a last little look at your notes, when you speak, you'll come off mute. When you're doing the points of information, you'll come off mute. We'll go backwards and forwards, and then we'll have the floor debate, then we'll have the summary speakers, and then we'll wrap up. And we're looking forward to hearing from our CEO, Margaret McCabe, later on at the end, whilst the judges are making their decision. Okay, I think we're going to have to get started. And then if there's some people that are struggling to join, I think we will just let them join as they come in. So do we have Debbie? I know some of the students don't have their cameras turned on. Is our first proposition speaker, Debbie, on the screen at the moment? Okay, we might need to wait a little bit until she comes onto the screen. So whilst we're doing that, let's just take a little time to chat with everyone that's in the audience. So everyone said already where they're tuning in from. Do people also want to tell us how do they know DebateMate? So it'd be lovely to hear from you. I know that we have some people that are tuning in from schools that are part of the program, some people that are tuning in because they've worked with us. We run training in the corporate sector. Some people maybe met us through our virtual debate. So can you tell us in the chat now, everyone? Be interesting to hear while we're waiting for the students to join. Where are you guys? What's your link? Yes, we've got some mentors as well. Oh, someone's saying brother works at DebateMate. I can guess that by Fitzpatrick, that's Toby's brother. Welcome. Sorry, sister. Welcome, Connie. University freshers, someone from school. Yeah, keep them coming in. Tell us, how do you know DebateMate? Primary school, virtual sessions. Hi, Connie. Teach First RE teacher. Watch the virtual debate. It's really nice that we've met so many people through our virtual debates. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hoping to apply for Bite Back and heard about it through that. Well, I hope you, Alex, I hope you got some useful information from James about how you can apply to Bite Back. It's an amazing, we're really delighted to be partnering. School hosted, the largest ever urban debate league this year. Great, Philip. Which school was that from? We absolutely love seeing all the pictures of the big urban debate leagues come in, particularly the spread of food, which is quite relevant to the topic that we've been discussing today. Some of the schools put on the most amazing spreads of food, and I never get to go out and run competitions, so I'm just sitting in the office looking at the pictures being like, I want to be there. Great. Alex said he got some useful information from James. That's great. So we've got St Edmund's Catholic Academy. Big shout out for Freddie. Everyone's getting there. Everyone's got their fans in the chat here. Yeah, let us know. Are there any students that are here supporting their classmates? Let us know. Do you know what I think I might do? If our CEO is ready and waiting, I think what I might do now is just get her to come on and speak to everyone, because I think a couple of the students are having some issues joining the webinar. So I think what I might do is invite Margaret to come up and say a few words, and then that will just allow the students a little bit more time to get connected. I completely understand that sometimes it is a little bit tricky to find the right Zoom and find the right meeting link. So I'm just going to come over to Margaret. Okay, so Margaret, you are currently in the audience, but I'm going to promote you to panelist. So you should pop up in a minute. And if when you're ready, you want to turn your camera on and speak to everyone if you're available. I think it might be a good use of time to make sure that we're not running too over. Hi, Margaret, our amazing CEO and founder. When you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to all the finalists. There's MF, everyone's there, Jane. Oh, they're all gone, have they?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
For the students.
Yeah, no, the students, that's fantastic. Congratulations on getting this far. I just wanted to say, I'm just so proud of you all for being here. It's been a very odd, difficult time for us all, but we're triumphing over it, and I'm really, really proud of you.
1 second, Jessica's calling.
I'm in it now, but I have to use it off a different device.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's great.
Jess, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Jess?
Hi, Margaret, if you want to carry on, we're just trying to join the other students.
Sorry, I got a bit confused. I was on a roll.
Yeah,
Basically, I love the last debate, but I love our partnership with Bite Back, and I love the last debate. I was going to I had a question from the floor, but it was so popular I didn't get a chance to put my question. What I was going to say is that there's so much food waste that I'm concerned about the fact that free schools meals, the schools have to buy the food, whereas I think if we could somehow, through technology, make sure that food that was wasted from supermarkets or was about to be thrown out could somehow be better used in free school meals. I think that would be a great saving, and we could make free school meals available to many more young children. And also at DebateMate, we offer food in our clubs because many of our students do experience food poverty, which is really sad, and something that we have been fighting to do something about for a very long time. Now, this debate's very exciting. I'm not sure who's going to win. I know the points and the arguments on both sides, but I am very interested in the fact, and I'll just put this information out there now, that we have children living in food poverty, and we also have a massive problem with obesity. So it's so odd that in a country where a lot of people are fighting the major health problems caused by obesity, that we have many of our young students who don't have enough food to eat. And that is the problem, I think, that we as a society need to sort out and solve.
Thanks so much, Margaret. And I think we do have the students, we've managed to sort them out. Deb, I can see that you're there. If you're able to turn your camera on, that will let me know that we're ready to start the debate. I'm really pleased that you were able to join. Yes, I was starting to get worried we weren't going to be able to have the grand final that we've all been waiting for and been getting so excited about in the office. Okay, so we're going to get kick-started. There might be a couple of others that are joining. But just thank you to patience to everyone that's been waiting for the debate to start and to the students that have been here. So this is the grand final. Really looking forward to seeing the speeches for this. The topic that we are debating in the 2020 grand final is this House believes that business have the greatest responsibility to tackle childhood obesity. So this House believes that businesses have the greatest responsibility to tackle child obesity. So on the proposition, we have Debbie, Freddie, Amani, and Evan. And on the opposition, we have Samuel, Millie, Leah, and Maliha. What we're going to do is zigzag backwards and forwards. So I'll introduce each of the speakers, and then you guys get started, and you can each interrupt each other with points of information if you want to. So speaking first on side proposition is Debbie. Debbie's 15, she goes to East Manchester Academy, and she's done Debate Mate for 1 year, which is pretty impressive to make it through to the final after only 1 year of Debate Mate. That's about 15 weeks of our curriculum. I asked all of the students what they wanted to be when they grow up, and Debbie would like to be an astronaut, which is really exciting. So please join me in a massive round of applause for Deb to open our debate. Woo!
Hi, my name is Debbie Adeosi, and I'm the first speaker for Proposition. Before I introduce my teammates, I'd like to start off by defining the motion just to clear things up a bit. This House believes that businesses have the greatest responsibility to tackle childhood obesity. By businesses, we mean companies and businesses that produce unhealthy food products and contribute a large amount of that. By responsibility, we mean having the greatest influence and power to change things. And by tackle, we mean reduce childhood obesity and have the ultimate goal of getting rid of it altogether. Now that I've cleared things up a bit, I'd like to introduce my teammates. I am, of course, the first speaker, and I am talking right now. Our second speaker, Freddie, is going to be talking about the tremendous wealth they gain from these products and how this could help change things. Our third speaker, Amani, is going to be talking about the influence and power that these businesses have and how we could exchange these fast foods for healthier options. And of course, our fourth speaker, Heaven, is going to be summarizing our points and maybe rebuttaling some questions that you guys have. Before I end things off, I'd like to talk about and discuss my point. I'd like to discuss how these businesses have caused so much of these childhood obesity rates to go high, and how they should also therefore contribute a large amount of responsibility of making it decrease. In a news article, it has been shown that McDonald's contributes at least 60% of the increase in childhood obesity rates. As you can see, this is a large amount coming from just one business itself. Imagine the other amount of businesses that contribute amounts as well. It's scary to think that businesses like these with such power and such responsibility are willing to not take care of these issues, are willing to not contribute and decrease these issues that they've caused. Don't you think it would only be fair for them to contribute a large amount to make sure that the obesity rates have been decreased and taking the large responsibility of tackling these rates?
Thanks for information.
Yes.
How do you expect businesses themselves to act in such self-destructive ways? Why would you expect businesses to be benevolent enough to actually fix these problems when it's making them money?
Well, I didn't say anything about how businesses do these to make money. I talked about how businesses are doing this and are not taking any responsibility at all to tackle these at all. It should be their responsibility to do these things as they've contributed such large amounts of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for opening the case for side proposition. That was fantastic and great point of information from Sam as well. I love your standing up position. I know there's quite a few teachers that are tuned in this afternoon. I've got a lot of teacher friends that are teaching over video conferencing, and they've all made shelves with their laptops so they can stand teaching up, because it feels so weird sitting down. I know that you as debaters at DebateMate are used to going up to the lectern to speak, so I love that. Okay, so now we go to side opposition, and our first speaker is Sam from Eastbrook School in Dagenham. He's in year 10, been doing DebateMate for 4 years, and he would like to be a general practitioner, a GP. So give it up for Sam. Woo!
All right, education is the key to all. Good afternoon, my name is Samuel, and today I'm here to open up this debate for side opposition, and to also convince you all why you should also disagree with the motion that this House believes that businesses have the most responsibility in tackling childhood obesity. Before I begin with my point, I would like to give a rebuttal to your first speaker, Debbie. Now, she addressed the point that businesses have a moral duty in order to protect our children. However, that's acting in a completely self-destructive way and counterintuitive. How do you expect businesses to even consider this option in the first place? They can't even regulate themselves and their employees, yet alone regulate anyone else. And why would you expect them to lose further profit? Now, on to my point. I will be talking about the importance of influence and our education system in tackling the problem of childhood obesity. On to my point. I believe that education is most likely the most important thing that we could have in this modern world. Knowledge is power, and learning is probably the most influential thing in a child's life. It's a force greater than this idea that you push of businesses and their aggressive brainwashing that you accuse them of. School has a higher impact on children because children spend the majority of their time within schools. Education is educating our system educating our children to make healthier decisions is what we should be focusing on. It is our last bastion against preventing childhood obesity, not this fantasy that we can get businesses to do it instead. Currently in schools, there's a lack of lessons surrounding nutrition, so children don't necessarily know how to differentiate between what's good for them and what's bad for them. And this is obviously contributing to the problem. Children aren't the problem themselves, but it's the lack of information that they're given that allows this to happen.
Point of information.
Accepted.
Surely the budget that the government is allocating towards education and the state schools around the UK, it is only becoming smaller and smaller and smaller due to this massive obesity epidemic. They're having to spend more and more money on treating obesity-related healthcare, yet these companies who get their money off the obesity are getting richer and richer and richer. Surely they should use the money that they get to help out.
Okay, thank you. In order to address that, this is not a problem of money, but a problem of curriculum. Schools themselves do have the budget. Despite that budget getting smaller, they still have enough to provide for our children. It's the fact that it's not in our curriculum, that it's not being taught to our children. And I would personally like to bring forward my evidence, which is my case with the system. I went to a primary school, and the most that they provided for us on nutrition was pamphlets. Nothing else. We just got things from the Change for Life, which is obviously a good organisation to support. Now, that's all we received. We never got any nutrition lessons. And that led to the problem that we have today. This lack of information is exactly the problem. And therefore, due to these factors, such as a lack of education, is why I believe that education and the education system is more responsible for tackling the problem of childhood obesity rather than businesses. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Samuel, fantastic speech from side opposition. So now we go back to side proposition, and our second speaker is Freddie. Freddie's 13 years old, goes to St Edmund's Catholic Academy, first year of Debate Mate, and Freddie would like to be a politician. So massive, virtual, big round of applause for Freddie. Woo!
Hi, my name's Freddie, and I'm on the side of the proposition. I'll start my point by stating businesses have a choice to enter this industry, and there are also pros and cons coming with that industry. The pro is they earn vast amounts of money, and if their business takes on a lot of clients, they may even earn billions. But a con is once they've created unhealthy products, they have a responsibility to warn young consumers of it, especially in the current climate. Now, the reason I'm elaborating on this is the issue of child obesity. One of the number one reasons for child obesity is misinformation on unhealthy products. Why I say this is because businesses have a responsibility to warn consumers. Each year in the UK, fast food chains earn £15 billion. In my opinion, I believe that if businesses are gaining from their products, the least they could do is warn their child consumers about the dangers of eating their products. So this is why accepted.
But would it not be easier, like I said with my solution, to get the education system to do it, since they have a much higher influence over children?
Indeed, but the thing is, even though you can say that, the thing is, they've entered an industry which, even though you're making money, you are, it is a known fact that if you're making a product, then you have to warn people of it. And if you're gaining from that product, wouldn't it just be fair enough to the consumer to at least give them a chance of understanding the product deeply?
Thanks, Freddie. You finished?
Yes.
Great, well done. Excellent. Thank you so much, Freddie, for that fantastic speech. So now we go to side opposition and Millie. Millie goes to Fazakerley High School in Liverpool. She's in year 10. She's been doing Debate Mate for just 1 year as well. Really impressive students doing it and making it to the final. Really impressive. And when Millie leaves school, university, whatever she decides to do, she wants to be a botanist. Love it. Big round of applause for Millie. Woo!
Hi, my name is Millie and I'm the second speaker for the opposition. I'd like to start with a little rebuttal. You said governments don't have the money to compare to the large businesses, but the one way to fix this would be to tax these large businesses and give the money to the government, as the government has the responsibility and they can use it more wisely than the businesses. And also you said that these businesses advertise a lot of unhealthy foods, but the only real way or realistic way to limit the glorification of that would be through legal regulation. So I, like my teammate Sam, believe the government is most responsible for tackling childhood obesity. And this is because businesses exist to create profit and grow within the economy. They don't exist to fix problems. They cultivate profit and sell their product. They strive to grow. With growth comes tax, which goes to the government. And we elect officials to help us. We give them power, trust, and most importantly, money. We vote for them and pay taxes so they fix issues. The way in which they often fix them is through laws and regulations. Businesses won't self-regulate. Businesses who provide unhealthy products won't promote a healthy lifestyle. They will do what they can for profit. They don't have morals and they only follow laws and legislation. Governments should bring in laws to limit advertisers promoting unhealthy products and use resources like the government website to encourage a healthy lifestyle. The government has the ability to control the media and how businesses behave. They can also bring in legislation surrounding what goes into products to limit unhealthy foods on offer. If making a product with less healthy ingredients will be cheaper for a business, they will always choose the unhealthier route. We are a capitalist society. Profit is most important, but governments have power to enforce laws that would force businesses to make healthier products. Governments have the responsibility because we give them the control, and they should use it, not businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Millie. Fantastic speech. Great style, so calm and collected in the way that you delivered that. It was fantastic. We at DebateMate, we do a lot of work working with young people, but we also work with adults, training them to communicate over Zoom. And I think the students so far have really demonstrated some fantastic tips. I think you could come on some of our training sessions and share that with some of the people that we work with. Okay, so we have 2 more speeches for you before we come to the floor debate, to the Q&A. So be thinking about where you stand on this motion. This House believes that businesses have the greatest responsibility to tackle childhood obesity. Are you in agreement with the proposition with Debbie and Freddie so far, or the disagreement with Samuel and Millie? You'll be able to put your points and questions to us after 2 more speakers from each side. So what we're going to do now is go to our 3rd speaker on side proposition, Amani. Amani's 12 years old, goes to Central Foundation Girls School. Jane, who was in the previous debate, gave a little shout out. It's her first year of DebateMate as well, and she wants to be a lawyer. So massive round of applause. Good luck, Amani.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Amani, and I am the 3rd speaker for side proposition. Before I begin my point, I would like to begin with some rebuttals. So Millie, I think, said that the government does not fund and help us with the obesity problem, but they do help us. They give the NHS money, which is over £27 billion, to help treat obesity. And also, you said that the education system doesn't have nutrition lessons in the curriculum, but there's also food technology, where we learn about how having foods high in sugar, fat, and salt affect us in the long run. Thank you. So my first point is that if businesses have all this power and influence, as we have shown before, then they should put it to good use by selling healthier products. To explain this further, if businesses have such a large impact on a child and how they eat, they should use this to tackle child obesity by adding a wider range of nutritious options. Evidence of this is a survey conducted in 2007. Children were given celery, carrots, other vegetables in a McDonald's bag, and they ate it with no argument, as opposed to how it was given on a normal plate. Another thing is that the kids' meals at McDonald's are usually bought by kids for the toys and not wholly for the food. So what McDonald's can do is add healthier options, like instead of frying the chicken nuggets, they could grill them, or they could switch out the milkshake for fruit smoothies. And another example of this and how it affects people is that McDonald's targets children because they are vulnerable and they do not know right from wrong and what's good for them yet. And they use this through advertising and on-road marketing and things like this. This links to the motion declined. This links to the motion because if McDonald's uses these healthier options by switching out milkshakes for fruit smoothies, then other fast food chains such as Burger King or KFC will eventually follow suit and will eventually lead to a world obesity rate lessening. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Amani, for that fantastic speech, and great to see everyone engaging in the points of information as well. So we were due to have Leah speak next, but unfortunately she's had a few issues with her computer and joining, so we're really hoping that she'll be able to join. But what we're going to do before we hear from Leah, hopefully, is come on to the floor debate. We can come back to Leah afterwards, but this is the floor debate to find out what everyone tuning in thinks of this debate. So do you think that businesses have the biggest responsibility to tackle childhood obesity or not? Do you have any questions for any of the speakers? Is there anything that you would like clarification on? Please use the Q&A now. And it's been great to see so many questions coming in during the debate. Now's your opportunity to put the questions into the Q&A button. So along your bottom of your screen, there's the Q&A there. Tell us what you think on this motion. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? And have you got any questions? I also am seeing on my phone now that the guys that are monitoring our YouTube, because I know a lot of our students, particularly our primary students that don't have access to Zoom, are tuned in on YouTube. So I've got some questions coming in from there as well that I will be addressing. So just while the questions are coming in, I'll just run through that have come, some that have come through already. So we have one from Kahinde saying, don't you believe the government should take responsibility as they benefit to a certain extent from business? Great question. Vale says, shouldn't parents have a role to tackle childhood obesity rather than business, as it's just their source of income? And shouldn't the consumer come to terms with what they're buying? Yeah, thank you. An anonymous attendee says, a question for the proposition. Would you suggest that social media companies take primary responsibility for body confidence issues among young girls, as they have similar influence over this issue as businesses do in childhood obesity? Great point there from an anonymous attendee. And just to say that, Evan, I know that you're on, and hopefully Maliha will be able to join. They'll be trying to address as many of these questions and points as they can, as well as summarising the case for their side. There's a question here from Vaishan saying, why don't businesses help children to be healthy? What could they do more? Then we have another one saying, Millie mentioned to tax these businesses and give the money to the government, as they can use the money more wisely. Although many taxpayers pay hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of tax, yet this tax is not being used correctly, as the issue they claim to fix are not being fixed. Connie says, the point that Sam makes is fair, but the curriculum cannot cover everything that the business who makes the products can. They have much more information than the schools can collect. The businesses need to provide the information. How can we trust, though, that the businesses are telling the truth? Great point there, Connie. We've got a question addressed to Millie, and individuals won't be answering these questions, but the summary speakers will be addressing them. You spoke about the government having a law of limiting the advertising to not tempt children. Well, my question to you is, isn't it the parents that need to teach the children there are people around who are trying to tempt them and not the government? To Freddie, the question saying, despite businesses giving warnings, I believe that children wouldn't understand the warnings or read the package or even take the advertising seriously enough as the education system should. Another one from Kahinde here saying, places such as McDonald's and chicken and chip shops gain so much profit as they provide social gathering places. So if the government could provide other places for social gatherings, wouldn't it be less people taking their products? Really good point there. It's a hub where people...
She needs to go. Okay.
I think we have Leah joining. Welcome. If you want to just put yourself on mute, Leah, you're going to be next. We're just running through the 4 questions. I'm so glad you were able to join. We'll be coming to you in a few minutes. So you've got a few minutes to gather your thoughts and get comfortable on the screen, and I'll be coming over to you in a minute. Okay, anonymous person says to the opposition, all that schools can do is educate students about a balanced diet. Therefore, isn't it fair to expect businesses to take responsibility for the problems that they massively contribute to? Okay, so keep those questions coming in. Are there any other points that people would like to raise? Whilst we're waiting for those to come in, I'm just going to go to my phone to look at YouTube. So there's a question here from Phoebe saying, my floor question is for the proposition. If companies introduced healthier choices, would the obesity percentage go down? And for the opposition, does social media impact what people think? Do you think social media impacts what people think? Great question. Thanks, Phoebe. And there's another one here saying for the proposition, if companies oh, that's the same one from Phoebe. So they're ones that have come in from YouTube. So tell us if there's any more. We've got our team, message me on my phone if there's any more coming in. A few more that have come in on our Q&A here. So we have Alex saying, what do you think are the most influential activities that we can complete to ensure that businesses listen to young people's views and issues? I really like that one. How can we listen to young people? As we've heard today from your speeches and from the ambassadors from Bite Back, young people are the future and have some of the best ideas. And there's a really long one here, which is going to be my final one before I come to you, Leah. So Tanisha says, I think childhood obesity is an issue in which every area of our society can help to deal with. Businesses do have an input as much as the children do. Everyone has a role and everyone should be educated. Businesses alone cannot be blamed, as all they do is provide the food options. It is up to us to make the choice. That said, businesses should encourage healthy eating. At the end of the day, it's up to us to make the choice. Education would be great, but education cannot make the same effect. I think it would be better for society to change the way that we view food. Great question there. Thank you so much. Okay, in the interest of time, I think we're going to have to continue. I know that Marie France, many of the teachers who are tuned in will know her, has been listening out for the best point from the floor, and she'll be coming on to announce who that is. I stole a little thing from my daughter's room earlier, from her kitchen, to tell you about the Nando's. And James, I don't know if he's still on from Bite Back, will be pleased that there's no chips on this plate. There's chicken, sweet corn, and peas. So that is a little symbol of the Nando's voucher. So Marie France will be coming on later to let the lucky winner know who they are. Okay, so we're now going to go over to Leah. Well done. I'm so pleased you're able to make it onto the Zoom for this final. So Leah goes to Ninesdale's Academy in Birmingham. She's in year 8. She's been doing Debate Mate for 1 year. And when she leaves school, university, she wants to be an actress. And that's inspired by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think everyone loves him. So give it up for Leah. Woo! When you're ready, Leah, if you want to just come off mute and then you can speak. Okay, I think we're going to give Leah a little bit more time. I can see Malie has joined. Welcome. You managed to make it on, so you're going to be speaking next. Are you ready?
Yeah, just answering some floor questions quickly and then.
Okay, I'm just going to introduce your bio and then you'll come up. So you've just got a few seconds to prepare. I realise that you've just come on fairly last minute, but I know that you were able to listen to the questions from the floor. So we'll just give you a few more seconds. And whilst Malie is just gathering her thoughts, Malie is the summary speaker for side opposition. She goes to Dagenham Park, Church of England School. She's in year 9. She's been doing Debate Mate for 3 years and she wants to be an architect. So when you're ready, Maliha, you can summarise the case for your side. And I know there were a lot of questions from the floor, so don't worry if you're not able to address all of them. So when you're ready, off you go.
Hi, my name is Maliha and I'm the summary speaker on opposition side. And I disagree with the motion. This House believes that businesses have a greater responsibility to tackle childhood obesity. I would first like to answer a floor question, which was, does social media impact what people think? I think yes, it does, because it's like a daily use. Everyone uses it, especially kids nowadays. but it also depends on who they see as an idol, if that makes sense. So yeah, now I'm going to summarize my team's point. My first speaker was talking about how the educational system doesn't show us how to avoid unhealthy advertisements, how we spend most of our time at school and how that can really affect you. My second speaker, Millie, was talking about how the government has a massive responsibility and how the fact that you elected them yourself to tackle these sort of social problems. A government's job is to help tackle these social problems. It's their job, their responsibility. My third speaker was meant to talk about how government's responsibility and how they have a duty to their people and how to like tackle these social problems and how money could be used to promote healthy habits. The government has the most for them to tackle obesity, that you guys have to put that much responsibility on a business when you're not when there are other people who have a higher reach platform. Everyone is partly at fault for childhood obesity. It's about who can help and who can do it better. And in this case, it is the government. The most businesses can do is advertise. How do you expect a child with obesity to care about an advert telling them to stop eating their favorite meal when their own parents aren't even preventing them from getting their food? You guys are probably going to say how it's out of the parent's hand if the kid constantly goes to constantly keeps on getting these foods, just how it's out of the business's hand, and it's more especially hard for a business to moderate a child's diet. You expect businesses to take responsibility for something that is 99% out of their hands. Instead, like, we are fighting for the sake of these children. So doesn't it make sense for the person with the most reach and the biggest platform to take responsibility? So therefore, this house doesn't believe that businesses have the greatest responsibility to tackle childhood obesity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maliha. Fantastic speech. Very calmly delivered, considering you had so many issues connecting. You wouldn't know. And one of the things that we talk about when we do our training with adults and we work with really senior people is not being fazed by the technology. And you perfectly demonstrated that. A fantastic speech, not only addressing your side's points, but also the points from the floor. So well done. You were getting a lot of love in the chat as well. There were emojis flying up from all people supporting you. So that's fantastic. Okay, I think we're gonna go back to side opposition. Are you ready, Leah? She's got a big smile. That shows that you're ready. So pleased that you were able to join. I was starting to get sad that we were not going to be able to hear from a couple of you because I know how excited everyone's been and how much preparation you've done. So just to give Leah's bio again. So Leah goes to 9 Styles Academy in Birmingham. She's in year 8 and she wants to be an actress. So when you're ready, Leah, off you go. Woo!
Hello, I'm Leah Kelly from 9 Styles, and one of my points is that communities, that it's more the government's responsibility to fund the communities so that it can go towards healthy foods. For the people who are enrolled in free school meals should have the right to a healthy meal, including a right portion size and a lot of nutrition. A reason this would be useful is because a child can normally have a lot of unhealthy foods, and that can have a big role in obesity. Another reason the government are held to account is because they do have a very big chance to subsidise the cost of fruit and veg, so parents are more likely to buy the cheaper and healthier option, which is quite likely to promote healthy eating habits and could even get kids into a routine of healthy eating and would reduce the rates of childhood obesity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leah. Fantastic speech. Again, very calm and collected considering the tech issues. But delighted. And I absolutely love that we have people, students on mixed teams from all over the UK coming together to debate together. I think even if we go back to doing our Debate Mate Cup normally next year with individual schools, I think we'll have to still have some element of mixing up the schools, because it's just been so great watching you all get to know each other and compete. So now we have our final speaker in the debate this afternoon, Evan. He's been eagerly awaiting, smiling and encouraging all of his colleagues while they've been speaking. Evan's the summary speaker on side proposition, so he'll be closing this debate, after which the judges will be making their decision, and we will announce who won the best floor prize and winning the Nando's voucher. So Evan, Evan is 13, goes to Highbury Grove School, actually just down the road from where I live. It's his third year of Debate Mate, and he also wants to be an actor. So maybe you and Leah can get together and put on a performance for us for next year. So give it up for Evan. Woo!
Every year in the UK alone, over £50 billion are spent on obesity-related healthcare. Simon Stevens, the chief executive of the NHS, says that obesity has a risk to bankrupt the NHS. Yet the fast food industry, an industry who directly contributes a massive increase in worldwide obesity rates, earns over £15 billion per year in the UK, yet gets away with pinning the problem onto the government, who can't keep up with this ever-growing problem. Hi, my name is Evan, and I'm going to answer some floor questions, then summarise why businesses have the biggest responsibility to tackle childhood obesity. So the first question I'll be answering is, as long as businesses pay their taxes, why can't the government figure it out? The government can try their best to keep treating the obesity epidemic, but if the obesity epidemic stays at the level it is now, the NHS will most likely be bankrupted. The government can't keep up with the amount of obesity per year. Isn't it the parents' fault? Parents, no, because parents have to be able to afford for their family. And so for large families who can't keep affording these expensive meals, when these massive companies come out with these cheap little food, they don't consider their health aspects. This is why it's not the parents' fault. Now on to my team's points. My first speaker, Debbie, spoke about why businesses are so responsible for the obesity rate and so should use the massive revenue they get per year to treat the massive problem that they have caused. Freddie said that businesses are so large and powerful that they should be responsible for their own actions. The obesity rate in the USA has increased by 60% from the launch of McDonald's to the modern day. These massive companies are at the point that they should be responsible for the problems that they cause. Armani, my third speaker, said that businesses have such influence and power that they should be responsible for releasing healthier foods and giving a healthier range of options in their menu. Now I have one rebuttal for Sam. There's only so much a school can do. McDonald's spends £2 billion yearly on advertisements for children. And so the school could do their best to try and teach their students about nutrition. But when they see on the TV that, oh, it's fine, they're telling us on the TV that it's fine, you can come and get some McDonald's or Burger King or KFC, that can override what the school tells them. Thank you. My name is Evan, and do the right thing and vote for the proposition.
Thank you very much, Evan. And I've just been sent some screen grabs of some of the comments on YouTube. I believe quite a lot of your classmates are tuned in on YouTube. There was a comment that went on there saying, I can't believe I get to go to school with this guy. You're like a celebrity now. Lots of emojis flying off on YouTube in support. And I absolutely love watching the chat when all of you have been speaking. The positive comments that are coming through to you is just been great to watch. The whole of the Debate Mate team are messaging on our WhatsApp saying, this is just fantastic. So massive round of applause for Evan. But again, can everyone join me in doing a big round of applause for all of our speakers? You were fantastic, absolutely fantastic today. Thank you so much for joining us, for putting your heart and soul into this. I remember when we were doing the prep we went round and everyone introduced themselves and said what their favourite song was. And I think it was Evan that whipped out his guitar and started playing a tune to go along with it. They've been fantastic the whole way through. And, you know, this is the first time we've done something like this over online, over VC video conferencing, and there was always bound to be some problems, but I think you've all dealt with it really well. One of the skills that we talk about DebateMate is resilience, and 100% you've all showed great resilience through this process, and what it's meant is that we can celebrate the DebateMate Cup. So thank you, everyone. We have our judges, who are Ella, Hader and Kath. They're in the background now, on a call, a three-way call, deliberating. Whilst they're deliberating to make their decision, nail-biting stuff, I just want to invite Marie-France to turn her camera on, because she's going to announce who gets the yummy Nando's voucher, not this plastic chicken and veg, but actually a £20 Nando voucher. So I'm going to hand over to Marie-France to tell the lucky winner who they are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jess. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. Once again, congratulations to all the students who participated in this debate. Not only did you make the top 8 out of over 100 submissions, which is absolutely incredible, you also spoke on a webinar to an audience full of hundreds of people who are so excited to hear you speak, and also on composite teams with students you've never met before. So it was absolutely incredible that you worked so well with one another, and I'm really happy to see how well it went, particularly given the challenges that we had. You guys really thought on your feet, which is a really valued skill. So well done. So thank you so much for all the floor questions. We got some really, really insightful questions asking different questions and making arguments for both sides of the debate. We also had some great comments on our YouTube chat. There was one person in particular, Phoebe, who was really active on that chat and showing so much enthusiasm. So this is a shout out to Phoebe. But the winner today came from a student who asked about and talked about how the chicken shops and McDonald's and fast food places offer really important social spaces for people, and so that's why they get so much business. And this person asked, why doesn't the government provide more social spaces for people to congregate so that they don't go to fast food shops and eat unhealthy food? So that person is Kehinde from Dagenham Park School. So maybe all our speakers can give Kehinde a round of applause. I think she goes to Malia School, so you really might know Kehinde, who is their classmate. So you can email info@debatemate.com. That's INFO @debatemate.com. And we'll give you instructions on how to claim your £20 Nando's voucher. So congratulations, guys, and thank you so much. I'll hand back over to Jess now.
Thank you very much, Marie-France. I agree. The questions coming in were absolutely fantastic. And I just saw again that Phoebe, who asked the question on YouTube, actually is really excited because she's going to your school next year, Evan. She's in primary school, but she's joining your school next year. So I really hope she joins DebateMate and the Debate Society. She'll have to. You'll have to make sure that you hunt her down and make sure that she joins. Okay, so we should have our judging panel ready to give the decision. Just while they're kind of finalising and getting their cameras turned on, I'll just introduce who they are to you. So Ella, you met in the debate. She was fantastic in the debate, and she mentioned that she's been involved in DebateMate for a number of years. I actually met Ella when she was at the Bridge Academy in Hackney. I just started working for DebateMate. She was 12 years old. Oh, she's coming on now. And it's been so fantastic watching Ella's development, to be on World Schools development team, to mentor all over the world, and now to go to university in the States. So Ella's on the judging panel. Hader, who's going to be chairing, also was a DebateMate student. He's just finishing his first year where he's studying medicine at Imperial College London. He's been doing competitive debating for 7 years and mentoring for DebateMate for 4 years. He's attended over 100 debating competitions as a coach, speaker or judge, including Imperial, Oxford, UCL and Cambridge. I remember Hader hosting a special Harry Potter debating competition when he was so young and giving all of the proceeds of it to DebateMate. He's fantastic. And then our final judge is Kath. Kath's a senior advocacy and campaigns consultant. Kath has worked on a range of issues from early childhood development to ending AIDS. Now she's throwing her energies into promoting child health and well-being through healthier food environments with Bite Back 2030 and the Jamie Oliver Group. Most recently working on a successful campaign asking the government to extend free school meals provision over the summer holidays. She graduated with a first-class degree in English from Cambridge University, where she enjoyed debating. I wish I'd known, Kath, we would have got you to do a little speech. So welcome and thank you to our judging panel. And over to you, Hader, to announce the winning team.
Okay, so thank you to both teams again for such a brilliant debate. As you know, at DebateMate, we judge on 3 main criteria: style, so how the speeches are delivered; content, so what you actually say; and your team strategy. Speeches from both sides, we all agreed, were given really stylistically and persuasively with some really great rhetorical tools and phrases and sound bites that were really exciting to listen to. And some really thought-provoking ideas were brought up. And I can tell you guys have definitely done your homework. There were some brilliant stats and studies being mentioned. It was very, very close, but after a passionate discussion on the judges' call, we have agreed on a winner. And the winning team today is the team that we felt took their analysis that little bit further, and across their team speeches made it clearer to us what responsibility in this situation actually looks like in the real world, with some really brilliant examples and illustrations of that. So I'm really excited to announce that the winner of the 2020 DebateMate Cup Grand Final is the team, can I get a drum roll? In opposition. Can we please give them a huge round of applause?
Thank you so much, Hader. And the opposition team, Samuel, Millie, Leah, and Maliha. Fantastic. As Hader said, everyone was brilliant. But congratulations to the opposition team, particularly as 2 of your members had a real battle with joining. And I know how stressful that can be. You all did a brilliant job. Everyone will be receiving some medals. So we've got individual medals for you because you're not on your school's team. We've got the silver and the gold runners up. So they're mini little trophies that we're going to be sending to your school to proudly display in school, or maybe you can get them on your mantelpiece at home. Pride of place. The first ever online DebateMate Cup. That's a pretty cool thing. I think we'll have that engraved on there. It's a pretty cool thing. It's gone down in DebateMate history, this competition. Thank you so much to our judges. Thank you so much to all of the people that spoke in the showcase. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Thank you for bearing with us with some of the problems that we had with the tech. Thank you to the DebateMate team for organising everything. I feel like I'm at the Oscars now. Maybe I should stop this. But most of all, thank you to our fantastic students, both those tuning in on YouTube, in this Zoom, contributing to the debate, but to you guys that have come through to the final for all your hard work. We're really excited about the programme next year. The 2020-2021 programme is going to be brilliant. We can't wait to get back out to your schools running DebateMate. So please stay in touch with us. Remember to follow us on Instagram because we're posting lots of really interesting content and information on our summer schools on there. So stay in touch with us over Instagram. And thanks again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and lots of love from everyone at DebateMate. Bye.